Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Carvel Community Meeting. Today's date is September 13th, 2023. If you're watching this recording from home, we encourage you to come join us live. We meet every second and fourth Wednesday of the month at 8 a.m. Pacific time. It's a great opportunity for you to come and meet the maintainers of Carvel, users of Carvel, those that are contributing to Carvel, listen to what the team's working on. If you have any questions on how to use the tools, or you can provide feedback on what we are working on, we would love to have you join those discussions live. For those that are on the call today and you do have something you wish to discuss, just a reminder, put that down in the discussion topic section below and we'll get to it towards the end of the meeting. If you are unable to attend these meetings live, but still want to reach out to us and connect with us, ask questions, there are several ways you can do that. You can find us in the Carvel channel in the Kubernetes Slack workspace. You can email us. You can find us in GitHub within any of our project repos, or you can find us in Twitter or X at Carvel_dev. But anytime you are interacting with us or any members of the community, we ask that you please read and abide by our code of conduct, which is linked throughout all of our repos. Okay, moving on to the agenda here. As I always point out at every meeting, we have a pinned issue here in the main Carvel repo. I've also created this same issue throughout all of our tools repos so that if you're just using that specific tool, you can make a comment on that issue that's related to that tool. Figured those repos might get a little bit more traffic than this general purpose Carvel repo. So trying to see how many eyes we can get and comments and engagement on this issue. What it is just something that's asking for details on how you're using the tools, your organization, link to your website, contact information, and then a logo, a PNG version of your logo within the comment. It just helps us keep track of who's using the Carvel tools, gets us a better understanding of other organizations outside of VMware who are using us. And so that we are aware that there's more than VMware that wants to use these tools, is excited for these tools, because as an open source project, we don't have access to that data whatsoever. So we rely on issues like this, on comments, so that we can have a better understanding of how others are using it, and also helps the community see how others are using the tools as well, so they have a better idea of how they can also use them. So let us know if you have any questions about that. We would really appreciate your input there. Okay, moving on. For those that are in attendance today, just a reminder to add your name and organization here below as an attendee. On to announcements. So we have a Carvel kiosk at KubeCon North America. We also have a project meeting. Once that link is added to the schedule, I'll put that here, but it will be on November 6th. So, and I think it's at 11 a.m. At local time. So once I have that, I'll put that link here so you can add it to your schedule if you're attending. But if you are attending KubeCon and you want to talk about Carvel at our kiosk, we would love any and all volunteers willing to do this. So just fill out your information here. This is the booth schedule. I've asked just folks not to fill this in on their own. What I'm going to do is look at who's input their information here. And then once I know, who can't work what day, yada, 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 I'll fill in the schedule myself. But these are the shifts. They're roughly 2 hours in length. So, just let me know if there's any days or times that you would like to be scheduled for, or how many shifts you can do, if there's any you can't be scheduled for. et cetera. We would love to have you, and as a favor, return on the favor, we'll definitely give you a Carvel hoodie or whatever swag you want, and we'll be taking the team out to dinner while we're in Chicago, and we would definitely invite you to come along and share the meal with us. So just fill that out if you can. Moving on to content. We have several upcoming talks. So we have one scheduled next week for Tuesday, September 19th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's a CNCF live webinar and tackling the Kubernetes software packaging puzzle with the CNCF Sandbox project Carvel. That is free to attend. It's a virtual event, so you can log into RSVP, and it'll be from Cora and Gabri, so be sure to check that out. We also have one in Bern, Switzerland happening at Cloud Native Day. I just found this out through Twitter, so thank you for tagging us, Daniel, and just go ahead and look at that there. So if you're in the area and if you're attending, be sure to check that talk out on September 21st. Next up, we have a couple of items in whatchamacallit, KubeCon China. So KubeCon China, September 28th, we have kapp-controller is going to be featured as one of the GitOps choices in the keynote presentation for Choose Your Own Adventure, the perilous passage to production. So what they do is they kind of go over some different options throughout the CNCF landscape, and it's the audience gets to choose, given the different choices available, which to proceed further with. So if you are attending KubeCon China and are in that keynote and heavily leaning towards kapp-controller in those choices, please make sure to vote for kapp-controller. We also have this one happening also at KubeCon China. It's Carvel, Clean Tools for Cloudy Problems by Lee Capilli. And so if you are attending or want to attend, if you're in the area, just here's the registration to attend, and it's in person only. There's no virtual options. As a reminder, if you are wanting to write about Carvel, speak about Carvel, you have a workshop coming up, anything at all, let us know. We have a sign-up sheet here, and we'll send a t-shirt as a thank you. Just helps us promote and see who all out there is sharing knowledge of what they know of Carvel to the community. Okay, moving on to new folks.
So I put that in because I guess Reina would, but she's stuck in another meeting. So I can quickly go around and introduce them if that's fine. Okay. So we have Prem with us, and he'll be a part of the Carvel team at VMware. And yep, so he just joined us today. He's one of the two people we hired around 3 months back. And we also have Ashish, who's our LFX mentee. So Ashish will be mainly working on how we can sort of pull in a tarred version of a bundle when we are releasing stuff. So yeah, just thought I'd call it out.
Hi all, I'm Prem.
Hi, welcome.
Hello everyone, Ashish here.
Excited to have you both. Really shows the growth of Carvel, and really looking forward to it. And for those of you that don't know, I am the community manager for Carvel. So I'll be sure to send you a link to order some swag, making sure that you're all hooked up with all the things that we have to represent.
That's great, thanks.
Right. moving on to releases, kapp-controller 0.47. Who can talk about that?
Can talk about it.
Great.
So in this release, like there were two folks who made their first contribution. First is Usman. So right now, whenever like a package install is created, the default sync period for it is 10 minutes. But Usman and team wanted a shorter sync period duration by default, like even if the package install does not provide it. So we have this new configuration in the kapp-controller config map, which can be used to set a sync period for all the package installs created by a kapp-controller. So this was Usman's first contribution. Huge shout out to him. And next one is by Andrew. Andrew found out a bug, like a small bug, and fixed it as well. So thank you so much, Andrew. And we have fix by Somic as well, right? For key control. So this is in I think a control package release command where build values would like affect the package output. And I think this would fix it. And also we pumped the kapp version in 258, I think, and this also fixes some of the performance issues that were introduced kapp-controller version 0.45. So this was something Usman and team had brought it out when kapp-controller 46.x was released, and they just confirmed that they were to like see the memory spec gone. So again, huge shout out to them for validating fix.
Great. Thank you so much, Praveen.
Yep, that's it.
And thank you for your contributions, Usman and Andrew. Super excited to see that your first contributions to help us out with this. Okay, moving on to project roadmap updates. Don't know if anyone can talk about this, where we are with everything. I'm really curious if there's any updates for this, the signature and SLSA attestation for all Carvel artifacts. Samek, do you know?
Yeah, so Thomas actually reached out to me before the meeting. So I did one round of review and Thomas has incorporated them. And I'll be taking another look at them, like look at the whole proposal and seeing if everything's in place. So, but I would like to have like another approver as well other than me. So if anyone else wants to skim through it, that'll be great. And maybe then once we have two approvals on this, we can sort of work towards creating some issues around like sort of describing the changes needed for each particular tool.
We need to go through the full approval process, right? And get that merged in before we start that work.
Yep, definitely.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Samek. And then I know that this one's a big popular one, the supporting emitting comments and resulting YAML. Do we have any update there?
Not yet as of right now. There's no updates there.
And I know this one, is there any updates here? Carvel supports ability, sorry, go for it.
Actually put that in the discussions, like the backlog section, I'll remove it from there. So I still have been fleshing out. I did drop the hackmd link below. I'll just copy it to the topic above. So I did flesh out some bits, but I haven't raised the PR yet because I'd like some more information in there. So yeah, that's still work in progress. What I've worked on is mainly fleshing out the use cases and being more specific about changes needed to image package. And I'll have to do the same for the other tools as well. Like, I guess I'll make the PR once there's enough for people to look at and discuss.
Sorry, I'm a little bit confused. Isn't that the proposal that we're talking about?
So one's for signing our artifacts, the other one's for having closer integration with signing and verification. Does that?
Yeah, okay, got it.
Okay, cool. And you put that here as well. All right, so any questions on those for the roadmap stuff before we move on to backlog? Okay, for kapp-controller, ability to create app resources in different namespaces.
Yeah, I have added this one. So this is something that we are working right now. Basically, whenever there is an app here or package install created, all the resources created via that app actually by default they are created in the same namespace as the apps here. And in some scenarios, if you want to create those resources in a different namespace, we don't currently have that ability. So we would be adding a spec.installation namespace parameter in package install and apps here. So if that is specified, then all the resources by default will be created in that namespace.
All right, cool. Any questions or comments on this? Okay, and I see you did put here, we're also happy to receive and review pull requests if you want to help work on this issue. So just a shout out to anyone who is interested in working on this. Please let us know.
Sorry, too late now. I have already raised a PR.
Oh, okay. Didn't catch that. Okay, and then for Cap, you can speak.
Yeah. Yep. So right now, when we deploy an app using Cap, and like there are some app changes config maps created, which basically capture what were the changes made during that deployment. And there is a flag which can be used to like cap the number of those app change config maps. And right now, when we set the value of that flag to 0, it actually first creates the app change config map and then deletes it. So we still need permission to like delete those config maps, which is really troublesome in some scenarios. So that's the issue. And there's also again a PR for this.
Okay, great. Thanks, Praveen. Any questions on this? Comments? Okay, set namespace for storing app metadata.
Yeah, sorry, you are seeing a lot of issues created by me. Yeah. So right now, like, we have a -n flag when we do a kapp deploy, which sets the namespace for the app meta config map, but it also sets the default namespace for all the resources that kapp would create. So there is no specific flag that would set the namespace for storing the metadata only. Like, for example, if you have only deployments in your application and you have permissions for that only in that namespace, then this causes some problems because you now need create and delete permissions for config maps. So with this, you can specify the namespace for the meta config maps and give separate permissions for those.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this? Okay. Moving on to this item, we also posted it in Slack, I believe. Joel shared his recommendations on the HashiCorp license issues. Joel, do you want to go over that?
Yes, I can go over that. So as everybody know, like HashiCorp decided to change some of their products licenses from Apache to, I think they were Apache to VSL. And because of that, that can cause some problems for people that are using using some of their products, or eventually some of their tooling as well. I do know that they were planning just to add a BSL license to products, but just to be safe, like on our side, I don't think we do use any products of them. We do use a bunch of their libraries. So these are like some of our recommendations for I think for like the maintainers that we have. So first of all is if there are like any PRs that Dependabot raises with any HashiCorp libraries, we should not merge it, right? And if there's anything, like we should have a discussion about it, and eventually we might merge these PRs if we know that there is a change on libraries, on licenses and so on. But we should be careful about Dependabot PRs. So there's another type of PRs is like they can be also created by Dependabot or by other people where they are bumping something else and an HashiCorp library is being bumped as well. So we should make sure that we should make sure that the libraries that are being bumped from HashiCorp, they still keep their Apache license. If for some reason they are not Apache and become BSL, sorry, you're right. You're right, Scott. My bad. Scott sings the MPL too, not Apache. So if they are, if they keep their current license, it's okay. But if for some reason that library that is being bumped with a different library, it became BSL, we should not merge that PR. Unrelated bumps some, and then if a PR unrelated to HashiCorp bumps some HashiCorp, if the version, so I think I covered both of them there. So we need to be careful. Like there are some tools that we also consume that like for example like SOPs. SOPs does also have some HashiCorp dependencies. We need to be careful when we are merging these PRs. Be sure that when we do that we are not including anything that is not that might be any kind of BSL license on it. So those are basically these are like our initial thoughts on how we're going to handle this change from HashiCorp. When we get to, so they said they are going to support everything that is open source till the end of the year. We can revisit this by that time frame and see if there is any change that we will have to do in our products to use different libraries in some fashion. So I've been playing around with with Go Licenser to see if we could see something, but I didn't have like a lot of time. So if anybody's interested, I think it would be great if you could add any kind of extra checking on our PRs, just to make sure that we don't have to be doing this work like all the time. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, okay, cool, Neil. Thank you for that. That was something that I was like, Neil was suggesting exactly what I was just saying. So I think that's it. Does anybody have any question, any concern, anything?
Going once, twice.
Sold, I guess.
Feel free to let this marinate, think it over. And if you have any questions or comments or feedback, let us know in Slack or at the next meeting.
Can you please add, like, I can send you the issue. There was an issue created for this by Thomas. Maybe you can just link it in here. Like the same recommendation is is there on that issue. So maybe we can have that discussion there. Asynchronously.
Terraform, right?
Is it Terraform? I thought it was in Carvel dev. Oh no, okay. Thank you, Nancy.
Cool. All right. Anything else on this? All right, moving on to something very exciting. The whole team has been wanting and waiting for docs review. Abby, do you want to share your screen and just go over stuff on your own, or?
Sure. We can try that out. See how it goes.
Feel free to introduce yourself, how awesome you are, all that fun stuff.
Hello. My name is Abby. I work at VMware. I'm on Nancy's team. I'm a technical writer. My focus for the past few years has been on helping open source projects write their documentation, organize documentation processes, all the things docs in open source. Really kind of runs the gamut on stuff. Projects I've worked on in the past, just for some reference, Harbor and Valero, I've helped them out a bit, and then right now I work a lot with the Kubernetes SIGDocs group, helping them just organize things. That's a huge community and a lot of docs happening, and I am the localization sub-project co-lead, so helping that all the localizations, supporting them. That's my area right now. So Nancy asked me to take a look at the Carvel website and all the docs for the projects, and to put together some suggestions that I had for it. And this is based on, you can see a link in the agenda. The CNCF has a technical writing evaluation process that kind of lays out some expectations and suggestions, hints on how to organize your docs for CNCF projects. So that's what I used when I went through your website to create some suggestions. I'd like to say that this is the beginning point of a discussion about what we want to do for improving docs. They're really just suggestions I'd be really interested to hear what you all have seen and experienced from users, community groups, and in your own using of the docs, what you'd like to see, what you'd like to see changed, what you've heard would like to be changed, what you really like, and what we maybe want to do more of. That's also really important to go over. So I guess I can dive right in and share my screen, which may make sure I get the right window in Zoom. I always end up sharing the wrong screen. Okay, so you can see the Google thing happening. I think, first off, I think you all have a really good set of docs. You have a great website, and you have kind of a tall ask to document many different sub-projects within a project. So it's kind of hard to do to how to organize that. And I think you all have a great setup to start from. I think the first thing that jumps out to me is kind of this at the starting point, like what is Carvel? Why was it created? Who are the users that you're trying to focus on? Why were these projects assembled into Carvel? Just more context about what is Carvel to people and why people should be invested in it. I didn't really see, I don't know, maybe if that is going to be a blog or where we can put it on the site. We have to figure that out. But that's sort of something I'd like to recommend being added initially, because you have a lot of great projects and docs about what each project is, but not necessarily what Carvel is as a thing. So I think that would be really helpful to add. And then also kind of connector pieces. I know talking with Nancy, that is another thing of like how all these projects can be used together. You can use them individually, but then how to use them together. Because right now your docs are all sort of split up, per project, but how to kind of fit in how to use like YTT with other the other pieces. I would say I'm very new to Carvel, and also I don't know what those are, so that would be great to hear from you all how to kind of put those together and where we can kind of make those connections for people. If they're using one project, how they can then go over and use other pieces of Carvel as well. I think, like I said, in terms of layout, you have a lot of content, which is great. I think maybe making it a little more clear how to connect from page to page. Like you have install sections for each site, but what do you do after that? After you install, like where could you go? What other content would people need to know by adding maybe like a what's next section? I think that'd be really helpful for new users. Just in-page updates. And there's a lot of things on this list, so I don't know if you want me to go through everything kind of in detail. I was kind of focusing more on things that I felt could be actionable right away, so that people could start chipping away at some of these things. And then I'm sure there are larger discussions of what more strategic things that people want to do that's more long term. So I guess what would be most helpful for you all to hear from me, or what to talk about? I don't want to talk at you for a long time.
Thanks a lot for this, Abby. Really appreciate you putting in the time and thought into this. I think we have looked at this website so many times now that it is difficult for us to actually see what can be changed, right? And hence fresh eyes are very important, and what you're bringing in is really useful. I want to just say one thing, right? Carvel, if you look at, is okay. So Carvel is, let's say, a company or an organization, and it has these cool products which are there, which do a set of things. And I think that does not come out on the page itself, the first page itself, as to what exactly are we trying to achieve through Carvel. Or Carvel, if Carvel is the company, is that what we want to brand, or is it the tools that we want to brand? So where do we put in that information through this documentation is also something that I keep thinking about. How do we organize so that we are ensuring that use cases also come out well through these documents? What can be done to get, so these are some of the things that I had thought when I was initially looking at these to see what improvements could be done. And I'm not a documentation expert and would really love to hear from you as to what could be done to see that we are talking about the problems that Carvel, not just Carvel, the tools are solving on the front page itself.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's like spot on. I think initially just right off the bat of where to put that content might be, because like I said, you have a lot of organizational challenges because it is, you know, Carvel the thing and then the sub projects and how to architect that into the website without necessarily re-architecting the entire website, because that is a very large project that I don't think anyone here really wants to take on. But to me, I think the easiest place to slot that in might be a blog to start out with. I'm not sure how much you use the blog, but then we can build in those pieces just into the main page and then just add links and make sure to really boost the messaging here. Just a little bit of organization here because you have the main projects here, just like you dive right into the projects. You have the community information, which is really great. But I don't know what these experimental tools are. Like, how does something get promoted from, like, what is an experimental tool and how does that get promoted? Is that the plan to promote it to be a full project or whatever? Like, stuff like that, I think could be confusing a little bit for new people looking at this page, to kind of get into a little more detail about how Carvel is formed and how it all comes together. Exactly what you're saying, like how it is organized a little bit under the hood of, or whatever, to collect all these projects together. So yeah, that's a great point. Did anyone else have anything that they had questions on or whatever? I can keep going through a few other ideas. That was the main one that I think would be really good at helping clarify things, which I hopefully think that that's easy. Someone here knows that information that we can kind of pull it together relatively fast into some sort of information we can publish. And I have a lot of other things that I could talk about too, but I want to make sure that there's people are able to talk about their docs dreams as well.
Box reads. I like that. So one thing that I think that we need to do as Carvel, and before we tackle what you're saying, is what do we want to sell? I think that's somewhat of what Renu was pointing to, and I agree. Like, what is okay? There's this Carvel thing, but what we expect our customers to do with it. What are like the most common things that we can do? And I think that as like a first page could lead us to. So I think, like, in terms of like history of Carvel, we've been very focused on each tool, right? Like, we built each tool separately, we grew it and so on. But I think right now at this point in time, I think it's time for us to do like a 180 here and start to think as like, okay, we have all these separate tools. How can we make them like an experience to people? How can people experience Carvel? Because we are no longer YTT or we are no longer CAP. All the tools are there, but in the end, we are kind of a package manager, right? Like, I think that's the story that we would like to tell here. So I do agree that there's like some massaging that needs to happen on this page to point us to the direction where we want to go, rather where we are right now. And I think that that's going to take a little bit of work, because we need to like craft this message in some way. And I think we didn't have time to do that till this point, but maybe, since like, it would be great if we could have this done by November, because there's like something that's going to happen around that time. And it would be good if we could have like this new idea, like this new like path forward for Carvel being crafted before we get to KubeCon.
Yeah, awesome. I guess in terms of next steps, so I have this Google Doc, which we could keep talking about and continue to talk about. But do you think having this conversation about like what is Carvel, like exactly what you're talking about, is useful to have in something like a GitHub discussion? Do you have, I don't know how much you use GitHub discussions, or in an issue that we can kind of comment and start building out this thing? I'm not sure the best place. That next steps, I want to make sure that it's not just a Google Doc in the wind, that we're actually creating in issues, which I can help do that too. I just don't know where the best place to put this information is, so we can take it further.
I think there are like two different things, right? Like if we have pointed things that we know of the documentation that we like to do, what we can do is we can create a GitHub issue with like a bunch of bullets, like subtasks or something that can be done, and we can just start ticking it out, and just building it. For the the other thing that I was talking about, like try to craft a message about Carvel, that I'm not sure how to do it. Like we've not been using like correct English. I think somewhat correct English. Like we do not use like very often discussions. There was one time where we enabled them, but then they were like, it was just another channel of getting things in, and we're having like some hard time. So I think we kind of disabled it for all the projects. But I don't know, what do y'all think would be like the best place for us to have this discussion in?
I think since we have historically used issues and comments there to have discussions like this, maybe we stick to that. Unless we want to revisit opening up GitHub discussions. Those are my thoughts.
We can also open GitHub discussions on Carvel dev, right? On the main repo for now. If we think that's like the best place, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to talk you all into opening up GitHub discussions if it's not something that you want to use. I've worked with some projects that you like it, and some places still aren't using it, so it's just an idea. I see in the chat just to have an issue with the Google Doc about this topic, which is something we can set up as well. I would say I do have some things that are more actionable things. So if you're okay with it, I can start opening issues, and then I don't know, you have an issue triage process that we can obviously talk through it then and figure out if people on the maintainers need to pick up the issue, or more ideally also opening them up for issues that the whole community can work on as well. And then this is something maybe, I don't know, I'm not, this is this what is Carvel is a much bigger conversation, so that might be another thing we definitely need to talk more about. But we could do a GitHub issue with the Google Doc too. That's a great point. And making sure it's accessible to everyone.
Is HackMD accessible to everyone?
Yeah, that's usually what we end up going with is HackMD. If Google Docs are suggested, then I always suggest HackMD as a alternate source.
It doesn't give us the same capabilities of comments and all that, but it's, I think, better than an issue.
Yeah.
So having the issue pull out to there and then having a full doc may be easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Scott, what are your thoughts on GitHub discussions?
I've never gone to that tab on any project that has them, so I think that shares my opinions.
Yeah,
All
same here.
right.
I would if this was on the doc specifically for this use case, but no, I don't use discussions. I stay on issues and PRs are the only two tabs that matter to me, and code.
Okay. So we have 9 minutes left. Just to keep us
I
on-
will say one more thing also about the docs, just from my perspective. I think, and I agree with everything that's been said here, and like the what's Carvel and all of that, I think is critical. The other thing that has been key that has started to be added over the last, I guess, probably about a year and a half, is the documentation is very scientific, especially for YTT. It's very scientific. It looks like someone with a doctorate wrote it. And the more user-friendly getting started guides or use case-based, like walkthroughs, that have started to, there was work in that. There were the videos also getting started with YTT and all of that. I think those things are critical because people get lost in the docs right now. Having the amount of info in the docs that we have in Carvel is amazing for people that are really deep into Carvel and need to solve these crazy, weird, complex issues that exist in the Kubernetes space, especially. But having it easier for someone to get started is critical because they're not going to read 30,000 pages and, understand the deep intricacies of YAML necessarily in order to do something which they don't need to do in Go, templating in Helm, or customize or other things. We give much more power, but we have to figure out how we make it easy for people to get started. I would say in the docs.
Yeah, hard agree. That has definitely been a major issue for some time. How do we lessen the complexity of onboarding, especially with YTT?
Exactly. That's the main tool that I think has the challenge, right? But I think the one other thing that we have heard many times, I can tell you from, users or whatnot, when I'm teaching them about things, especially when it comes to kapp and kapp-controller. If there was a way of embedding some of the documentation from kapp into kapp-controller's documentation, it would be extremely beneficial, especially around things like the kapp-config, which is used very heavily within kapp-controller, and a lot of times it's inlined inside of the app CR and things like that. And to use kapp-controller, you have to understand kapp. Otherwise, you're going to get weird things with the applying. Like everything else, you have a choice. You want to use Helm, wonderful. Git is your source, wonderful. You don't need to care about YTT or image package or any of that necessarily. You have to know about kapp. And kapp is not kubectl apply, right? It's way more than that, and it's way more complex. So I think we have to figure out how to move some of the kapp documentation into kapp-controller without, and this is the complex thing with versioning being different and every product releasing on its own, and what version is in there is how you don't duplicate the work that is done in kapp and duplicate the docs now completely to make it just, get out of sync all the time. When we update kapp and kapp-controller, we shouldn't need to update 30 docs. I'm not sure how to solve that, but that's one other thing that I think we have to think about.
Yeah, that's a pretty critical point to be made for sure.
Thank you for sharing. That's like exactly what I wanted to get the conversation started. I know we're kind of closing in a little bit on time, so just logistically, I'm going to plan to take some of these more could be done right away kind of things into issues in GitHub, and then you all can kind of go through your triage process and see if, again, if we don't want it to be done or whatever, please feel free to add comments. And then I will also work on an issue for the Carvel like what is Carvel page and put that together in an issue so then we can kind of figure out the logistics of a HackMD and how we want to proceed. I'd say if there isn't an issue for something that's more longer term, Scott, like you mentioned, I think the right move would also be to create what you would want to see into an issue, so that we can kind of capture that and have more discussion to get it to a place where it's actionable, so that people can actually take, break it down into the pieces and make progress on it. So if you don't mind doing that, as long as that's the right move for the community, thank you. That would be really helpful.
Sure.
Awesome. Does anyone have any other points on docs? I'm really excited to be working with you all. I know it's been kind of a longer journey to get actually in front of you on this community meeting than I had planned initially, but I'm really excited. I had a great time looking through your docs, and hopefully we can get lots of great improvements made together and within your community. Hopefully we can get some people excited about docs too.
There are quite a few folks who love to contribute to docs, and I'm sure we'll get some support there from the community. Yeah, we have issues open.
Awesome.
Is Hacktoberfest still happening? I feel like
I was going to say there's probably a couple issues that'd be good Hacktoberfest style things that are kind of little minor updates for new contributors. So if that's an event, or I don't know, something in person that you all are doing, we can create issues for that if that's something you want to do.
Yep. Yeah, I think this is perfect timing for us to use. Yeah, we have 13 days to get ready. So yeah, Hacktoberfest is happening. And we can definitely
synchronize our watches. All right.
Yes. put some issues up that would be great for this. Awesome. Well, I really think this is all happening at the right time. It's fate. So thank you, Abby, for putting this all together and joining the meeting today and kind of, going over everything and all your help and work. It's just super exciting. I know the team really appreciates it. So okay. I guess we'll look forward to the next steps and the different things getting created, and we can continue these discussions in Slack as well as in our next meeting. Kind of keep us on updated and moving in the process so that it doesn't fall flat. All right. Thank you everyone for joining today's meeting. Again, for those that are watching this as a recording, if you are interested in contributing and helping us out with these docs, please let us know. We would love all the help that we can get. As you can see with the doc that Abby provided, there is significant amount of work to be done. So we would love all the help that we can get. And if you are wanting to participate in Hacktoberfest, if you've never heard of Hacktoberfest, it's a really cool open source initiative to get people excited to contribute to open source, particularly first-time contributors. So be sure to look at that. You get some really cool swag whenever you've completed a certain amount of PRs and whatnot. So yeah, let us know if you have any questions, and feel free to join us at the next meeting. We meet every second and fourth Wednesday of the month at 8 a.m. Pacific time. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day, evening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.